Howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 224.
Yeah.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that.
I'm the doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something. Doctor Who related.
Yeah.
Especially in these barren times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There was a cool thing that popped into or through people's letterboxes recently, though.
Yes, there was.
So that hopefully provided plenty of Doctor Who action. Referring to the season 18 Blu-ray box set, of course, looking very, very nice. Do you like how these are stacking up on the shelf next to each other?
Loving it. Absolutely loving it. I tell you, when it arrived, I just, putting it alongside the others, and they look really nice together, those three. I just can't wait for more, to be honest. As soon as we get a new one, I already like, what's next?
Do you think that in some shape or form we'll have like 1 to 26? That would be pretty amazing if they can pull that off.
Yeah, no, I think we will. I just don't know how long that'll take. If they release so that's the first one this year, isn't it? There's another 2 rumoured. So if you say 3, 4 maximum a year, I just want them to. I want to get them all before I'm 90 or dead. It would be nice to get the complete collection before, because I ain't getting any younger. But
Well, if they
4,
did
8, 9, 10, 12,
4 a year, it would take 6.5 years.
Okay, I should be fine.
Yeah.
I think I've still got 6 years in me. I should be good.
If they did 3 a year, it would be 8 and a bit, so nearly 9 years worth of.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say shape or form, I mean, obviously there's a lot of missing episodes still and a lot of all that stuff. So there could be a couple of them that are a little bit light on the ground, but still cool though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because the season 18 one's got loads of nice extras. I'll tell you one thing though, I was going through waiting to see the famous Nationwide interview with Tom, where he's in his black stripy suit and he's very macabre, and I can't remember who's interviewing him. And she's like, "Oh, you're leaving Doctor Who?" And he's like, "Yes." Well, and he seems really down. And I was thinking, where's that then? And it's not on there. And somebody involved in the making these things, I forget who it was, put on Twitter, no, it's going to be on a different release, a future release. And I'm like, but surely, like what? We've had Castrovalva and all, so what release could that possibly be more relatable to than than Legopolis. I don't understand. I don't quite understand why that's not on there. But anyway, but what is on there is incredible, and I'm sure, like you, I've spent every single night this week like watching something from that set. It is just a box of delights, isn't it? It's amazing. Brilliant. Yeah.
Well worth the money as well, I'd say, for the amount of. I mean, season 18 is not particularly long. How many stories are in there? Six, I think. But just like you said, the amount of extra stuff you get is so cool, because you get all the stuff that you'd get on the DVD release anyway, don't you, for each story? But then you get like these really cool behind the sofa.
Love the behind the sofas
and some. Yeah, it's just very, very cool.
And you get Kanon and Company on this one, which I haven't watched in years. Oh, sorry, there's 7 stories. I've just had a look at 7 stories plus Kanon and Company. So yeah. But yeah, I haven't watched Kanon and Company for years, and I remember loving that as a kid because I just loved K9, and I always thought there'd be a whole series of it, but there isn't. I think they just did that one, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, the extras are brilliant. I've watched because I haven't actually watched any of the stories yet, because I'm just going through the new extras, because I've watched I know the stories quite well, but I am looking forward to, once I've watched some of the new extras, like the behind the sofas, going back and just watching all the stories in order. Because like Leisure Hive, have we reviewed that? I can't remember.
Be careful.
No, yeah, be careful. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting watching the behind the scenes stuff, and some people are probably thinking, why are you watching that first? But in some ways, it gives you an insight into the story. So Leisure Hive, I was thinking, from my memory, I'm not sure it was one of my favourites, let's put it that way. And I don't know, I was intrigued by the sort of behind the scenes documentary on that, especially seeing Tom. He's ferocious in the studio footage. There's a bit where like the director's telling him what to do, and he completely takes over. He's like, no, camera 3 can shoot from there. That picks up the reaction. Then I'll get this, and he swears, dreary prop, and I'll throw it across the room, and it's like, oh my word, he's really like, and that's not my mic cutting out, that's me keeping the language down for the podcast. So it's really interesting to see stuff like that, and as I said, the behind the sofas, have you watched any of those yet?
I've watched the first one.
Isn't June Hudson just adorable? I love June Hudson.
It's really interesting to watch those, because you never really get because through interviews, their answers are obviously tailored towards a specific question about, a doctor or an episode or something. But when you watch those behind the sofas and you see those guys sitting down, there's nobody prodding them with questions about what's going on. So it's a real true sort of, you get an insight into what they actually think about stuff, because it's what they're seeing that prods them to like speak about stuff or have a laugh or whatever. So I think they are probably my favorite feature on these special edition box sets. All of them are so interesting to watch.
Yeah, you've got some real treats coming up as well, because I've watched 4 of those behind the sofas. And what's great is June Hudson seems to know a lot about the stories, which is great. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the people just sit there and they think, I don't remember anything about this, especially Tom, bless him. And Tom's much more vocal in these ones. Like on the season 12 Blu-ray set, he seemed to get engrossed too much in the story, so he was quite quiet on those behind the sofas. This one, especially with June, because she keeps sort of talking to him, and she really gets some good stuff out of Tom, and he is brilliant on them. And you've got Janet obviously on the other side of the sofa as well, and she's just, I think they've decided they're going to have her on every single set from now on, because she's just entertainment value. She's just brilliant, isn't she?
She's so good.
Yeah, so funny. It's interesting as well, because you sit there, like you said, they do give honest reactions to what they're seeing, especially Janet, and that is nice to see. And then sometimes they'll get stuff wrong, like Janet was sort of saying about locations, and I was thinking, no, you're giving the wrong place, Janet. That's not where it was filmed, but it's there. It's captured on the Blu-ray, and people will be like, oh, that's where it was. But no. So, but it is. It's nice to just see everything's just off the cuff, unplanned, and it does give a real sort of candid insight into their thoughts on it, I think. And they don't hold back, which is good.
That is really good. Yeah. Anyone that's not had a chance to pick those, well, I think the others sold out now, but anyone that's not had a chance to pick up the season 18 one, I don't believe it's sold out just yet, but they do typically go soon after release. So if you want it, then now's the time. Otherwise, it's the usual pay silly money on eBay, a few weeks' time.
I think Zoom have sold out of it, I believe.
Oh, they have, right.
I don't know. It was taken off the page on the day of release, and then it was back on, and now I believe it's gone again. So whether they got a little bit more stock and then it's sold out, but yeah, I wouldn't hang around, just because the chances are, if you are considering buying it, it probably will sell out. Season 19 is still available, but I get the feeling this one's been a bit more popular. I don't know if it's just because it's Tom.
Yeah,
or because there's been more promotion. I don't know, but this one just seems to be a little bit more popular. So yeah, I wouldn't hang about, because it's a great set. It really is.
Yeah,
it looks gorgeous as well. It's not just the extra features. The actual set itself is just beautiful. You open it up and it's got a picture of Tom from the Leisure Hive, isn't it? Yeah, in front of the TARDIS, and you open it up. Yeah. There's a lovely booklet. It's beautiful packaging. Now, I absolutely think it's worth 40 quid. I honestly do. I know £40 is a lot of money, but I think, for what you get for your money.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you mentioned season 19. I'm only going on Amazon, by the way, no other sites or distributors, but the price goes up as well, which we've seen with season 19. So that's now £52.
Oh, right.
And the stock that Amazon initially bought in has gone. So they have to order it in, and it's an extra, I think it's 3 to 5 days delivery instead of the next day Prime if you have Amazon Prime. But the season 18 one, the new one, is still 40 quid, and that's in stock on Amazon. So but I'm pretty sure in a couple of weeks or a few weeks time it won't be. So get on it.
Get on it now, yeah. And if Zoom do get it, they were doing it for $38.99, and you could get 10% off, so you could get it for $35.90 or whatever, but which is an incredible price. So keep your eye on Zoom. Is it just zoom.com or zoom.co.uk?
Zoom.co.uk.
Yeah, I have to say, because that's where I got mine, and it was delivered on the Friday before it came out, which is what happened with season 19. And it is so lovely to get it on that Friday. I mean, everyone just posts pictures, and all the poor people from Amazon were saying, "Oh no," looking at their screens like, "When's mine coming?" And it's like, not till Tuesday. And you think, "Oh no, that was me a little while back," because I used to always use Amazon because I was sort of unfamiliar with Zoom, so I was scared to use something different. And I tell you, I've never looked back. Fast delivery, arrived really quick, and yeah, it's so nice to get it on the Friday with everyone else.
Yeah, Zoom are really cool. Actually, we've partnered with them a couple of times. They're the guys that have provided the previous season 19 box sets for our competitions. They're very cool guys. Yeah. But this is not just because we've partnered with them, but whenever I've ordered stuff from them before, it always turns up on time, if not early. Packaging is always good. Their price is always really good. So yeah, man, zoom.co.uk. Good. I
think I'm going to get the Macroterra Steelbook from them, I think, because I still haven't pre-ordered that yet.
Okay.
But I keep looking at it. I think again it's more expensive on Amazon, so I might do that today because it's out next. Well, we're recording this on Wednesday, so it's actually out next Monday.
Next week, yeah, it will be.
Yeah, so I want to get the Steelbook. I've already got the DVD because I went to the screening of it at the BFI at the weekend, and that was included in the ticket price. So that was quite nice. I actually got that a week early. But a bit like you, your reason for not going was that you didn't want the DVD because you want the Blu-ray, and you kind of had to buy it as part of the ticket price. So totally understandable. But yeah, it was nice to get that, and I got Annika to sign it after, which was cool. We're going to review the Macroterra in a forthcoming podcast, so I'm not going to say too much about the story or my thoughts on it, but it was a great event as usual at the BFI, and I'll just say that I thought the animation was a step up from Power. I really did think the animation was very good. The opening scene of the TARDIS space just blew my mind, actually. I was just like, the very first shot,
right?
And they asked if we wanted to see it in color and black and white, and there was a bit of a sort of 50-50 split. So they said, "Oh, well, we're going to show it you in color." And we were like, okay. But then the very first shot, which is the TARDIS in space, it was in black and white, and I thought, oh no, have they put the wrong one in? Not that I minded, I wouldn't mind seeing it in either. But then it went into color. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why that is, but it worked incredibly well.
Okay,
it worked so well. But you'll see what I mean when you see that first shot. It is just glorious, and yeah, the animation's very good. Yeah. It was a good event, actually. They got Annika on stage to talk a little bit about it. She's very candid, a lot more. I've seen her in a couple of interviews, but she was in fine form, but she was very, very candid, and she seemed a little bit disappointed in the way she'd been animated. And I felt a little bit sorry for the people involved in the animation, because they were there as well, and they talked about, it was a real labor of love for them. And I think they've done a very good job. But yeah, Annika was saying she didn't think, that they'd got her characteristics right. And, like her eyes in particular, she seemed to be focusing on. But yeah, she was very, very, she just talked about how much she loved working with Pat Troughton and what a cheeky chappy Fraser Hines was and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was a really good event, really interesting.
That sounds really cool, mate.
Yeah,
very,
it was
very
good.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I prefer it when the guests that they have up on stage, I prefer it when they're more candid and
she was honest. Yeah.
Because the last thing you want is somebody just, almost reeling off not a script, but they're just going through the motions because they've been asked these questions lots and lots, and so it's very cool. So that's why it's cool. Although Adric, the character, can be a bit grating sometimes, Matthew Waterhouse, on the other hand, can be quite cool at those things.
Yeah.
He does say, what he thinks, and yeah. So I'm glad you had a good time, mate. I think have they announced anything coming up at the BFI for Doctor Who? I don't think so just yet.
No, I think it's just rumor at the minute, because we think, the next Blu-ray set will possibly be a Pertwee, is what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
So there could be something to do with that coming up, which would be great, actually. It'd be good to see Pertwee on the big screen. Yes. But no, nothing, as far as I know, nothing lined up. But it was a good event. Great to share that with all fellow Doctor Who fans as well. And for me, it's a new story, really, because I've never listened to the audio. I've never read the book. I had no idea really about anything. So I went into it quite fresh. So in that sense, it was like watching a new episode, really. So I really enjoyed it in that sense. As I say, I'll keep my thoughts on the actual story itself for when we review it in a few weeks or whenever. But yeah, it was good. It was good to share that with other Who fans and get their reaction to it afterwards, because a lot of the other people seem to know more about it. Like when people get saying, there's no such thing as Macra, I was like, what are they on about? I don't know. I feel I'm not part of the club. I don't know what they mean. And then now I do. Yeah. So yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, that's one of the best things, isn't it, about going to any event, really? Yeah. It's being surrounded by other Who fans, and yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely. I wish Fraser had been there. That's the only thing. I would love to have heard Fraser's thoughts on it. And it was nice that Annika was there, because very strangely, she's not on the audio commentary for the DVD, which is a shame. I don't know. Maybe she wasn't available, but
it's surprising, mate. But they're still good.
Yes,
still great. Yeah. Well, I haven't been up to anything, buddy. Unfortunately, again, I've not done anything Doctor Who other than just chilling out and watching some of these season 18 stuff, which I'll probably watch through the rest of it over the next few days. But yeah,
I tell you, when you're going to enjoy is when you get to Weekend with Waterhouse, where Toby Haydock goes and stays with Matthew for a weekend. I actually really, really enjoyed it, because he did one with John Levine, didn't he?
That's right.
A few years back, which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And this one's equally as good. It's a bit longer as well, and
okay,
yeah, you'll enjoy that one. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, nice one. The talking of Toby Haydock, I came across somebody pointing out a guy that I work with. Pointed out this really, really good interview with Toby Haydock, that this guy, this podcaster, and I always forget his name. Let me just bring it up. There's this guy called Richard Herring, and it's the Richard Herring at the something. It's called Richard Herring at the something theatre podcast with Richard Herring. Anyway, episode. Where is it? Anyway, it's a really, really good interview with Toby Haydock. And I never realised just how much knowledge Toby Haydock has about Classic Who.
Yeah.
Because I knew that he was a classic guy and he obviously knows his stuff and everything. But there's a segment within the interview where Richard just fires him basically like a bunch of random stuff. Like, and it's not even the character's name. He says things like, an actor's name, an actor that was alive 20 years ago. some character that was on screen for 2 seconds. And Toby Haydock's like, oh yeah, that's the guy who played so-and-so. And he was in this episode of this story that aired on this date and so on. And it's unbelievable. I just never realised that he's essentially got all of classic Doctor Who, like the encyclopedia of all the broadcast dates and actors' names and everything in his head.
I know.
He didn't stop to look anything up. It was just straight there without hesitation. So if you've got a spare hour, just search for Richard Herring, the Richard Herring podcast on iTunes or Spotify, whatever. And I'm trying to find the episode number just to save you some time. But yeah, it's a really, really good podcast, mate. Really, really good.
I gotta say, he's brilliant. I really like Toby. I've been to see his stand-up, and if you ever get a chance, mate, I absolutely recommend it. I don't know if he's doing specifically Doctor Who ones in the minute, but he did a couple of shows,
right?
And they were brilliant. Absolutely, Moths ate my Doctor Who scarf, and I can't remember the name of the
bell.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the second show though, and the second one was quite new, and it was really, really good and really heartwarming as well. But yeah, he's a fountain of knowledge, Mr. Haydock. Yeah, for sure. I like it when they get him involved in the DVD extras as well, because he's sort of funny and also really knowledgeable. So he always comes across really well, I think, in those.
Yeah, that is. Oh, I found it. So it's not a particular number. It's a Manchester special. So normally this Richard Herring guy, he does his podcast out of a theatre somewhere in London. But on this particular one, he was up in Manchester. So it's in between episode 185 and 186. And it's just titled The Manchester Special, Toby Haydock. But yeah, it's very, very highly recommended.
Awesome. Yeah, I will give that a listen.
Yeah. Rightio, we've got no news. It's a bit tumbleweedy still.
It is.
Not a lot going on. So let's bring Grumpy Pants in and see what he's got.
Yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
The Daemons.
Great story.
Very good story, isn't it? Pertwee. I wonder if they do anything at the BFI for a Pertwee thing, if John Culshaw will turn up.
Oh, that would be good.
Because I didn't realise how bang on his Pertwee impression is.
Yes, it is.
And what's more scary is when he flipped between Tom Baker and John Pertwee in the same sentence or the same paragraph. It's creepy how accurate both of them are, because he's known for doing his Tom, I think, more than anyone.
I was going to say, I always associate him with Tom, but when he was doing that unboxing of the new vinyl I think it's on the Doctor Who YouTube channel.
Yeah,
he keeps going into Pertwee, didn't he? And I said to you, he's so good at Pertwee.
He's bang on, isn't he? Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Daemons, obviously the Pertwee story. There was something. I think this was released a while ago on DVD.
It was, wasn't it? I thought exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So Reeltime Pictures, they made like a fan-made movie, which is an extension of the Daemons, and it focuses around the character. Is it Olive Hawthorne? Yeah. So Olive Hawthorne, who's a original character from the Pertwee story, the Daemons. She stars in this like extended version of it, if you like, a fan-made thing set around the same story in the same location. So Devil's End, this village that the story set in, and it's called The White Witch of Devil's End, and it's centered around her character. And yes, I'm pretty sure they released this on DVD last year, I think, or maybe the year before.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm sure I remember this coming out on DVD before. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they've put it out for pre-order they're going to release it on Blu-ray, and it's a special edition version, as you would expect on Blu-ray. And just to give some blurb on this, it's meant to be a direct sequel, if you like. So it's a story set in the world of BBC TV's Doctor Who, and The White Witch of Devil's End. Damaris Heyman, she reprises her role as Olive Hawthorne, and it tells the story of her life from childhood to her final days as the magical guardian of Devil's End. Fighting every face of evil imaginable, Olive must defend the village, but what happens as she reaches the end of her life? Who will protect the townsfolk then? And it's got a few extra features on this one. So it's got a commentary that stars Damaris Heyman, the director, Keith Barnfather and the writers David Howe and Sam Stone. It's got a behind-the-scenes thing called Weaving Magic. The writers tell their story in something called The Scriveners. It's got the theme tune, which is a music video, apparently. And it's got something called The Hoovers Present, which is a panel discussion with the creative team, apparently, behind the story. So it's up for pre-order now. If you nip over to Amazon, it's £16.84. It's going to be out not till next year.
Oh.
So it's up for pre-order early. So March 2020, 2nd of March 2020 is when it comes out. But there is a little cool kind of twist to this one. And they've opened it up to the fans to decide what's going to be the final cover for the Blu-ray. So at the moment, they have 4 different versions. It's the same design, but 4 different colours, essentially. So there's green, yellow, blue, and purple. And you need to nip over to the Facebook page of the director, Keith Barnfather. We'll put a link to this in the show notes. And he's put a couple of posts on there, and they've done it in 2 parts. So you can vote on the blue or the green, and then on the next post, you can vote on the yellow or the purple. And I assume they'll do like a whittle it down to whichever wins those 2.
Which one do you like? Which one would you pick?
Well, purple's one of my favourite colours, so I'm going to go with purple. But I also really like the yellow one.
Purple cover.
I like the yellow as well.
I can't see yellow. Which one's yellow? I was going to say orange. Is that it's the second one yellow?
Yeah, it's the second from the left.
No way, guys! My colour blindness must be getting worse. That looks orange to me. Anyway,
it's kind of orange, I suppose. It's kind of a deep yellow. Yeah,
humour me. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay,
I like that one. Yeah,
I want that one.
That one. I was just looking because I'm sure
you're colourblind and it's not. No, but yeah, I quite like the purple.
It's funny. I am ashamed to say I'm sure I bought this DVD, and I'm pretty sure it's just upstairs gathering dust. I must watch it. I'm sure I've got this because I just had a look on Amazon, and the DVD had a Return to Devil's End feature, which is why I remember thinking, yes, I must get that because I wanted to see it. Where they go back to Oldbourne, where they filmed it. I thought, oh yeah, I'll get that just for the to watch it and also for that special feature. But that's not listed on this new Blu-ray, so you'd have thought they'd have put that on there, surely. Unless these are just the new bits and it's got all them as well. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, it did come out on DVD back in 2017, November 2017.
Oh, so yeah, so you can still get that on Amazon if you want it.
Yeah,
$7.99. But yeah, the special feature, it was Return to Devil's End.
Yeah, but it's not listed on here, is it? You'd have thought the Blu-ray they'd have put more on there. As I said, it might be on there, but doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. One would assume.
One would assume, yeah.
But we can't. You should never assume, should you?
No, I mean it's a year off coming out, so maybe they'll announce more nearer the time.
Yes,
I know.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the Daemons, then this could be up your alley.
Yes, I'm going to go and see if I've actually got it upstairs now, or whether I can't remember if I actually ever bought it because I definitely haven't seen it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but I've got a feeling it was one of those. Yeah, I'll get that. Yeah. Watch that later, and it's still up there. Yeah, I need to go and have a look.
The old shelf filler. I read you.
Yeah. So the other bit of merch that we've got is some news from Big Finish actually, and it's the companion we've all been waiting for is returning, Katarina.
Katarina.
Yes. Who?
You know who Katarina is?
I don't. I had to ask Gary before we kicked off. I was like, so Big Finish announced they're bringing back Katarina, who was a companion in the first Doctor era for a very small time. I think she was only in 2 episodes, wasn't
she? Two different stories, yeah.
2 different stories, Mythmakers and Dalek's Master Plan. I think she's in one of those episodes. And obviously the actress who originally played her sadly no longer with us, Adrian Hill. So they've recast the part. Going to be played by who?
It's going to be played by someone we don't know.
No, we don't. I saw everyone was following her on Twitter this morning as well because I was thinking, why is everyone following this woman? Anyway, I'll come back to you with her name. But yeah, they've recast it. It's going to be part of the First Doctor Companion, which is a new audio set of adventures. And basically, it's going to be the First Doctor and the Second Doctor meeting. So there's a little bit of it, which does sound quite interesting, actually. So Daughter of the Gods is called, by David K. Barnes. It says, when Zoe reattaches an old piece of equipment to the TARDIS console, she, Jamie, and the Doctor are very lucky to avoid collision. But the place they find themselves in may be even more dangerous, because there they encounter another Doctor, a space pilot called Stephen, a young woman called Katarina, who shouldn't really be there. So it's quite cool, actually, because they've got a great cast for this. So there's Wendy Padbury, Peter Purvis, Fraser Hines, and obviously this lady they've recast, whose name I will find.
Her name is Ajaz Awad.
That's the one.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool, actually. But yeah, I must admit, when they first announced this, I was beginning to worry that I was a fake fan, because I personally can't remember Katarina. But those stories are lost anyway, aren't they?
I think
they don't exist. So I think I can be let off.
Yeah, I think she's, if you know, to actually see her on screen, Adrian Hill, this is back in 65. There's only one episode that survived from the cull. So she's in 2 stories, but she's only in one episode that's out there. So you're not a fakeo, you're not a fake.
Thank goodness, yeah. I must admit, I haven't got any of these. They've done a few of these early adventures, haven't they? So this is series 6. It's going to be the first one in series 6, which helps celebrate 20 years of Doctor Who. So it's weird, isn't it? Because I guess what they're doing is it's a celebration of 20 years of Doctor Who on audio, and they're reaching for sort of quite obscure characters, which in a way is kind of cool, because it introduces you to a character that perhaps you wouldn't have known about from the classic era. So I can look at it that way, because I'd certainly not heard of this companion.
Me either, mate. So it's listed in terms of the credits on here. It's listed as Fraser Hines playing obviously Jamie, but also the second Doctor as well. So is he doing an impression of Troughton, or is he just reading his lines as himself?
No, he does. He does do an impression of Troughton. Yeah, so he'll probably.
Any good?
Can imagine him in the studio. Yes, he is good, actually.
Okay, right.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, he is good. I thought they might have got Chris Thompson, actually, because he's started doing a bit for Big Finish, and he's very good as Troughton. But yeah, Fraser on this one. He is good. Yeah, it's worth a listen, actually, if you get a chance. He does do Troughton quite well.
Cool.
He's got his little mannerisms in his voice, which is good.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this story is Daughter of the Gods, and it's out in November this year as part of the early adventures that Adam mentioned. $14.99 on CD, $10.99 on digital. And I think they're going to put a bundle together as well. So £26 CD or 20 quid on download. So yeah, November could be quite cool if you're into your very early Hartnell / Troughton years, lost stories and all that stuff.
Be quite an interesting mix, I think, because First Doctor and Second Doctor are so different in personality. Yeah. So that it could work quite well, actually.
Yes. So that's all we've got for no news. That's all we've got for merch. Shall we joust into our review for this week? What we got, bud?
Ding, ding, ding. Loots at the ready. So this week it's a Fifth Doctor story. It's a little two-parter, a little cheeky two-parter, and it's called The King's Demons.
March the 4th, 1215. Something very wrong here. What if your guest was not the king?
Not the king? Then who?
An imposter.
What for?
To change the course of history.
What possible satisfaction can that give him?
He wants to rob the world of Magna Carta.
Stand, demon.
We are not demons, and we've done no harm to the king.
Take them.
You cannot be allowed to alter the course of history, even indirectly.
You are a sorcerer. No, and I ask you to trust me, please.
You can trust us.
Ooh. The trailer I'll come on to in a second after we've given our initial thoughts, but The King's Demons. It first went out back in 1983 in March, two-parter, as Adam said. It was written by Terence Dudley, directed by Tony Virgo, and stars Davison, Jeanette Fielding, Mark Strickson, and Gerald Flood as Chameleon, who's like a character that pops up in a couple of stories.
Yeah.
And the storyline is, so the Doctor arrives during a medieval jousting and surprised to be greeted quite nicely by King John, who labels them immediately as his demons. But then a dude turns up having just left King John in London and realised that this King John must be an imposter. And then the Master makes his appearance, and the Doctor's pretty freaked out by this, and that's it, literally. So the King's Demons, buddy. What do you feel on this one?
It's a strange one, this, isn't it? It's a strange little two-parter. It feels
strange
like
is a word. Yep. That you could use. Yep.
It feels like it's unfinished to me. I got, because, like, you know how you've just finished your synopsis? That's exactly how the program finishes. It kind of just ended, and I went, "Is that it?" Like the Doctor Nick's chameleon. The Master's like, "Oh no, I haven't got chameleon anymore. I'll better leave then. Forget this dastardly plan. I'll just get him a TARDIS and go." And it ends, and I honestly I couldn't believe it. And I mean, I have seen this before. Obviously, it shouldn't be a surprise to me, but clearly it's not been off my shelf for some years, because I got to the end when the credits rolled, and I was just like, my word, that's just it's shocking, actually. I really don't know what I made of this. I really don't know what I made of it, because I sort of enjoyed watching it, but it's not very good, if you know what I mean. It's like it's really not very good. But there's an old-fashioned style to it, which I kind of warm to, if that makes sense. Like the theatrics and the Camp King and I don't know, and the stuff like that. And then there's this terrible sword fight in the middle, and I thought, the Doctor and the Master have a sword fight, and I thought that's very Pertwee, Delgado and Pertwee. Like there were bits of it I liked, and then you've got Chameleon sat down because the thing can't move, but it's not very good. So I'm really sort of torn, because I wouldn't say it's even a guilty pleasure. It's just sort of somewhere in the middle of, and I don't know, it just has no real story to it either. But Anthony Ain is good in it. I just don't know, mate. I honestly don't know what I make of this story at all. It really just is an oddity, really. Yeah. I don't think it's bad, but it's certainly not good. So I don't know. It's in that, when Adric and that get in Legopolis, they go into that void, they get taken out of everywhere. There's that effect you liked. That's where I am with this story. It's just in the middle of nowhere, literally. I don't know what I think of it. It's a grey area. Yeah. What do you think of it?
Yeah. So I remember watching this one a few years back now. This was one of the early box sets that I picked up for the Davison era.
Yeah.
And when I first watched it, I was kind of into it because I was fairly fresh to classic Doctor Who. I think this is going back to like 2013, I think, something like that. It's been a while since I watched it. I mean, that was the only time I've seen it as well, that very first viewing. And I remember when I put this on the schedule, because it came round to do a fifth Doctor story. And then I was looking through the list of the ones that we hadn't done, and I thought, the King's Demons. And my initial thought was, well, what's that about? What happens in that one? Who's in that one? I literally had no recollection at all of the cast, the story, anything at all about it. So I thought, well, for beeps and giggles, I'll put that one down and we'll see how we go. And then after I finished watching this yesterday, I still don't know. It's unfortunately for me, mate, it's one of those instantly forgettable stories. It's really, and that's why I mentioned the trailer, because that trailer is much better than the story.
If you listen to that trailer and then watch this straight after, you'd think, you'd
be disappointed.
Parallel,
so for me, mate, this one, I mean, it's got, unlike you, it kind of feels like it really wants to be something, but it's just not anything. I've no idea.
There's no story, is there? It's really strange, because you've got nice costumes. I think for the most part, the supporting cast hold this together. They're really good. One thing for me that really lets it down are our main cast. I have never seen Davison and Janet Fielding look so bored in an episode ever.
Right, yeah.
Even Peter really looks so bored. during this entirety, but he really does. There's a scene of him at the table where he kind of goes, sort of blows his lips, and I'm thinking, is that Peter or was that the Doctor doing that? They really, the supporting cast. I mean, I'll give Mark Strickson his due. He tries to put a bit into it when he's captured, but the main cast in this, I think, really let it down. You know, when we've said before, they get a script and they probably think it's a bit below par, so they try and inject some energy into it.
Yeah.
They're really not bothering with this one. And you know, that I think they could have added something to it, because it's not a total dead loss, this one. As I said, there are things to enjoy there. But it just, but they just add nothing to it in the main cast at all. And they really let it down, because I know they haven't got a lot to work with. The story really is so thin. And the conclusion, I think, is unforgivable. It's it's the weakest conclusion I think I've seen in a long time. But yeah, gosh, the supporting, I mean, the main cast, sorry, they really let it down for me. Supporting cast seem to be really trying. That's the thing. You know, watching this again yesterday, I think, and we'll go through the cast in a minute, but I think most of them seem to be really into their roles. Like they seem like they're really happy to be, oh, we're in Doctor Who. Yes, it's exciting. Oh, we're on in a real castle on a location, and this is all very good. And they seem to be really into it, especially Anthony Ainley, actually. He seems to always love playing the Master, and I think he's the best thing in this.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I love his laugh.
He's brilliant, but yeah, it's
what's cool about it as well is that it's unexpected. So when the Doctor's given him quite a witty follow-up, instead of him, it's almost like Anthony Ainley's Master can't quite quick enough think of a quip to come back with, so he just defaults back to.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
That's that sword fight as well.
Oh god,
it's so staged. I mean, it is so. I mean, you've got to. I don't know. Direction? Are we blaming for this or what?
I assume so. I mean, they're
so
real swords,
done.
aren't they? They're not. We're not talking about rubber swords here. So they're real swords, and you can tell that they're being very, very careful.
Very careful, and apparently, according to the production notes, Anthony Ainley still sustained a cut finger during that fight and had to have an antiseptic. So even being that careful, there was still an injury. But yeah, you compare that to like the sword fight in the Sea Devils between the Master and the Doctor, and I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Health and safety had gone out the window back then, you know, but at least it looked real. But yeah, I mean, that bit as well. And then I'd forgotten about the bit in the first episode where we have a song, which seems to go on forever.
Oh,
you know, the king suddenly gets a lute out and starts singing this song, and the Doctor looks really miffed. And again, he just looks really like, no, he rolls his eyes. But we endure a whole song in the middle of part one. And it is just the most random.
Yeah, and it's imaginatively titled The King's Song.
Oh.
I know, mate. It's got some. I think, you can tell early on in our review that we're not taken with this one too much, but I'm kind of torn with this, you know,
same as me,
in what I want with it, because on one hand, I think, thank God this is only 2 parts, because if this was a 3 or a 4-parter, I'm borderline just letting it play while I do some ironing or make a cup of tea or something. But the other side, on the flip side, I think, well, if it was 3 or 4 parts, maybe they would have had more time to flesh some things out, because like, I get it that the king was an imposter and it was the chameleon android that was, you know, had this sort of shape changing ability or whatever it was. And I just wished that was in it a lot more. I was hoping that they would do that reveal early on, like maybe as a cliffhanger to episode 1. And then in episode 2, you get to see more, because the actual design and the electronics behind that for back in, you know, when was this again? Back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, it's quite static. It doesn't really do much, but the design is quite nice and, you know, all that stuff. So, I don't know.
It's a fully functioning robot, or at least it should have been. It was like really early technology. He was supposed to be programmable and to speak his own words and things. I think when J&T was introduced to this thing, he absolutely loved it and thought he'd found like the future, future companion. And maybe, is this, do you think, just an introduction for Chameleon? Because I think J&T had grand plans for this thing, but they never materialized because they couldn't get Chameleon prop to work properly. So I think they kind of had to, scale back all these grand plans for having him join the TARDIS team. But do you think, in the early stages, J&T was like, yeah, we've got this new robot. It looks great. It actually speaks its own lines. It's going to be amazing on screen. Is this just an introduction for Chameleon, do you think? Is that why there's no real storyline? I mean, the Master's plan is pretty weak compared to, it's not his, he just wants to stop the, what's it called? The
Magna Carta.
Magna Carta, yeah.
Magna Carta Libertatum.
He just wants to overthrow it. It's not exactly a grand, it's not like his normal domination of the world type scheme. So I just wonder if this is just an introduction story for Chameleon, really, because as soon as they get him, the story ends. Yay, we've nicked him, right? The Master's given up, let's go. Tegan says, what about the Master? And the Doctor's just like, yeah, he won't bother carrying on now. How does he know that? How does he know the Master won't go mad and like shrink everyone with his tissue compressor and all that? Do you know what I mean? I can't get over the ending. I honestly can't. I just think it's an introduction for Chameleon.
Yeah, you could absolutely view it that way, for sure.
But I agree with you about the look of Chameleon, though. I mean, for the time, and I love the fact he's a real thing. Like, if you watch, this DVD is very light on extras, by the way, very light. I think it's got like 2 features on it, and one of them is the guy who invented Chameleon. And what it is he was actually, this is nothing, it wasn't designed for Doctor Who. He had created this robotic thing. It was very advanced for its time. He dropped a leaflet on J&T's desk, basically saying, have a look at this. You might want to use it in Doctor Who. Brought the thing in. Apparently in the demonstration, it was amazing. Everyone was like, wowed by it. Apparently that's the only time it ever worked properly was when they did the demonstration for J&T. Apparently he was like, well, this is going to be amazing. We must have it in Doctor Who. And then, it never really worked after that properly, which is why they kind of abandoned it. And I think he just ends up rattling around the TARDIS. I think even his scenes filmed in the TARDIS were cut for a lot of them. Yeah. I mean, when do we see him? So the next story is 5 Doctors. I don't remember him being mentioned in that at all.
No. Well, here's the thing. J&T must have been quite upset with it because even though he kind of gets introduced as like this companion into the TARDIS crew, doesn't he? Because the Doctor's like, we'll bring him with us. It's all good. And Tegan doesn't trust it. And she's got the hump as usual.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, she doesn't trust it.
Yeah, but then Turlough's like, oh, he's all right. And then Chameleon's like, for a robot, seems quite happy, and you think, okay, so we've got an extra companion on board now, the Chameleon thing. But from the next story, so was it the 5 Doctors follows this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you just don't see it at all. And then he pops up in Planet of Fire, which is like, 6 stories later.
Yeah.
So they just literally, even though he's welcomed on board, and you naturally assume that at the beginning of the 5 Doctors, you would see Chameleon, and all that stuff. He just disappears. Like literally just, you'd assume that he's having an oil bath, like C-3PO somewhere on the TARDIS, and he's fallen asleep.
Exactly. I do remember, I don't know which DVD it is. I do remember seeing this scene that was cut of, I think it's Tegan talking to him and Chameleon's doing something in one of the roundels of the TARDIS or something. Gosh, I'm getting this right. It's a long time ago I saw it, and I remember, it's just, they just, the thing can't get its words out and that it's disastrous. So they just cut it out. And like you said, and then he doesn't get mentioned again till Planet of Fire, but he's a shapeshifter. They could have, anyone could have walked out of the TARDIS and be like, hey, up, here's Chameleon, look.
Yeah.
Here he is, dressed as, I don't know, a Cyberman. I don't know, what could he be? Here he is, dressed as James Bond. I don't know, it could have been anything, couldn't it?
Anything at all. Yeah.
Anything at all. Yeah, it could have come out as, I don't know, anything. But he doesn't. They just don't use that at
Adric.
all. So
could have come out as Adric.
He could have come back as Adric. That would have been a great way to have brought him back into the series, yeah. but they don't go with it. Yeah, they didn't think it through.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that J&T was just thoroughly unimpressed with how it actually turned out on set versus the initial demo where they were wowed by it. And
well, I think Davison hated it. I think he initially liked it, but then because it malfunctioned so badly during the recording of King's Demons, they had to schedule another day's recording, which cost them money and probably drove Davison nuts, having to re-record over and over, the same scene over and over again because the thing wouldn't work. So, if they thought K9 was bad, this thing probably drove them up the wall. Yeah. I can imagine, because there's that shot, isn't there, of Davison looking at it. There's that famous sort of image that goes floating around of Davison just looking at the prop, really what is it? You could just see, what must have been going through his mind is just up to interpretation. But I just love that.
Yeah, it's a shame, really, because it would have been nice to have actually had a decent story arc around something like Chameleon as a character. That could have provided some cool stuff that they could have weaved in and out of. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not ones for the huge Moffat-style arcs, but it could have provided a little bit of escape, from because let's face it, some of the Davison stories, and this is a perfect example, they're not exactly setting the world on fire with sort of in-depth stories or fast-paced editing and action or anything like that,
Yeah.
So it could have really done with Chameleon popping up and having a proper, because when I bought the box set years ago, I thought, oh, this sounds really good.
Yeah.
The Chameleon, what do they label it as? The Chameleon Tales. Chameleon Tales. I thought, yeah, this sounds really good. And
of course, yeah.
Yeah, there's the little box set. It's only a 2-disc thing. It's like this and Planet of Fire.
Planet of Fire, yeah.
And then it's only in it towards the end of King's Demons. And we haven't reviewed Planet of Fire, so I'll bite my tongue. But
another one I haven't watched for ages. But to be fair, Big Finish have just picked up the character, haven't they? They've just, yes. I would have loved to, and it's voiced by John Coleshaw as well. So somewhere along the line, I'd love to get those because I'd love to know what they've managed to do with the character. Do you know what I mean? And especially as it's voiced by John Coleshaw, who I really like anyway. So I'd love to get them at some point. And if any of our listeners have got them, do just comment on the Facebook page or something and let us know, A, if they're any good, and B, what they've managed to do with Chameleon, because I'd love to know. I think it's really good that they've picked up that character as well.
Yes. Yeah. I think there wasn't one released really recently.
Yeah, no, they've literally just come out. I think there's it's a trilogy, Chameleon trilogy. And I think the second one come out this month, and then there's another one next month. So
that's right.
Yeah. So they're really new. Yeah.
Yeah. So that might be a once again,
it's just the money. I actually was going to get them. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get those. And then there was just so much other stuff coming out. I was like, I just can't afford them at the minute, but at some point I'll get them.
Yeah. Big Finish just providing a bit of oomph to the character that's needed, because if you base it on just what we've seen in these two stories, it's, it's very, very, very thin, very, very thin.
Yeah.
Okay. And so story, like we said, is not,
it's really weak.
It's very, very weak. Essentially, the Master's turned up in disguise as the king's son, is it? Or not the king's son, but the king's sort of head swordsman or head knight or bodyguard or something. He's associated with the king, isn't he?
Did you clock him straight away as well? Of
course, yeah. You can tell by his voice, can't you?
It's the voice and the eyes, I think. I mean, it's one of his better disguises, I'll be fair. It's one of his better ones, but there's something about him, he just stands out like a sword. Even in Time Flight, under all that rubber mask, you could tell it was him. It's something about his mannerisms, and in this one, just the eyes, and as soon as he got off the horse, it's the Master. But it's one of his better disguises. But still stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Because the makeup's okay, but it's still a little bit.
What accent is he doing at the start? Is he trying to do French?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought
These people should be slayed, Your Honor. I just what is he doing? I think he's supposed to be French.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. This guy, Geoffrey de Lacy. So he probably is doing French then.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like the master's. No, not Sir Geoffrey. Sorry, Sir Giles is the master, isn't he?
That's it, Estram or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, Estram, that's it. And so the Doctor turns up, realizes that that's not the real king, realizes that something's not quite right, and then really the only thing that happens is they get captured, get put in the dungeon. Turlough, that is, he gets put in the dungeon. The Doctor and Tegan, this is it. I can't remember what they do. They just sort of wander around for a while and have a chat with, what's his face? Ranulph, the guy who owns the castle.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole, I think that the premise is meant to be that because they've arrived in this alien-looking ship that appeared out of nowhere, people view them as like these, supernatural people sort of thing. And yeah, like you said, the Master's kind of got this plan, which is not, it doesn't sound like it's going to result in world domination. It just sounds like
it's pretty lowbrow.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like this book or this draft or whatever that King John draws up called Magna Carta. If it doesn't go ahead, then, peace between certain people within, whatever it is, 12th century England just doesn't happen. So there's more fighting and wars and stuff. But I don't see how that really benefits the Master. I'm pretty sure there's a bit where he explains what it is he's actually doing. Because the Doctor says to him, like, what do you hope to achieve, sort of thing. And he's like,
yeah,
I can't, this is so bad. I only watched it yesterday and I can't remember what he says. And that's the story. That's it. He uncovers the Master's plan. There's a bit of capture and evade. And then they just go.
Yeah, they just leave.
They literally just, at the end of the story, they're like, right then. And then they're off.
And then there's a strange bit where, again, maybe I missed something. Surprisingly, I wasn't, you might think I wasn't watching this if I was bored, but surprisingly, it sort of did hold my attention in a strange way because I wasn't on my phone at all during this. But there's a bit where the Doctor, so they get in the TARDIS at the end and the Doctor's like, right, come on then. If you want to get back to England, I'll take. He starts getting all, annoyed with Tegan and I'm like, did I miss something? Like, I didn't hear him moan about, unless is that from the previous story? Because he just suddenly starts getting all huffy with Tegan, doesn't he? Come on then, right? If you're so determined to get back, let's do it. And she's like, no, it's fine. I'm enjoying myself. And no, if you want to get back. Yeah. And I was thinking, hang on, I don't think I missed something. And then he goes on about the Eye of Orion. And we're like, oh, right. So that's 5 Doctors. So that's where we're going next. But yeah, I found that quite odd as well. But maybe there were, my attention drifted off for a minute. I don't know. No, just seemed really random.
You didn't miss anything at all there. I think he was just calling her bluff, basically, because she keeps going on so much about it.
She's particularly miserable in this story, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's really got the strop on.
And I don't think that's just Tegan. I think
I don't.
Just looks particularly bored and.
That scene you mentioned earlier with the Doctor and Tegan just shut in that room in episode 1, when they're like you said, what are they doing? But they're just literally, the Doctor's like, yeah, so I'll probably go and sort that out in a minute. And, and it's like the two of them just look so bored.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's just walking around. So I'll sort that out later. And it's like, what? Yeah, it's very, very odd.
Yeah. And I'm quite surprised, actually, because Eric Saywood's normally a decent chopper-upper of scripts, if something doesn't quite feel like it's going to flow or it's lacking something, he's normally, as we've seen from a lot of his stories that he's overseen, normally can sort of hack a script to pieces and, suggest what needs to be fixed. But this one, I don't know, the script's just...
Terence Dudley, what else did he write? I'm gonna while we're going through people like writers and stuff, I'm gonna say as well, Tony Virgo, direction, really bland.
Yeah.
Unbelievably bland. You got that lovely castle. I think Bodnian Castle it was. Is that how you say it? Bodnian? I always say it wrong. And it's everything's just shot so boring.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks. I mean, you can tell the weather was bad, which probably didn't help. It looks really damp and wet. The TARDIS prop looks unbelievably bad when it lands. It's
rickety,
battered to hell. Yeah. which is nothing new, I know. But yeah, I've got to say the direction was a bit flat in this as well.
Flat, yeah.
So Terence Dudley, what else has he done?
Well, Terence Dudley was actually a director. He directed Meglos.
Oh, right.
And produced some of the Blake Seven stuff, which I'm not sure you're aware
of.
Really? But then after he did directing, he kind of had a stint as a writer for a while. He did 4 to Doomsday.
Oh, yeah.
Black Orchid and this. And then after that, he went back to directing. So he had a little bit of a stint sort of tried his hand as a writer, but...
I thought I knew the name. Yeah, of course, Black Orchid, which, see, I like Black Orchid.
It's not too bad, is it? It's much better than this, isn't it?
I've got a soft spot for it. Yeah, it's a 2-parter as well, isn't it? 4 to Doomsday, I remember you quite liked, didn't you? And he also wrote the script of K9 Company, my word. So, yeah, I thought it was a name that I knew. It's interesting to see the other stories he wrote. Yeah, they're not exactly ones that jump out as me as favourites, but I do like Black Orchid. So
I think this is the worst of the 3 that he's done.
I wish I'd had, because I watched this quite late last night, I wish I'd had time to watch it with the Davison commentary. If he's on it, I don't even know if he's on it actually. I'd like to listen to this with the audio commentary, because I'm hoping Davison's on it, because I know he's not a fan of Terence Dudley's writing. Davison particularly doesn't like Black Orchid. But I'd be really interested to hear his thoughts on this one. I might do it this afternoon, actually. Go back and have a listen.
Because Eric Saywood's on the commentary as well.
Eric Saywood. Who else is on it? Is it Davison?
Yeah, Davison, Isla Blair, and Eric Saywood.
Ah, right. I'm going to go listen to that this afternoon. I just didn't have time last night.
Yeah, so Isla Blair, she played Isabella, the I think it's Ranulph's wife. Who inexplicably gets captured for no reason halfway through the story.
Yes, I know. Another moment where I thought, because this is the thing, I was watching it. I wasn't on my phone or anything. Have I missed something? Like, did my brain zone out for a minute there or something? Because I wasn't, as I said, on my phone or anything. But yeah, I didn't get that at all.
No,
Suddenly she was thrown in a cell with Turlo.
If you wanted a commentary by the director, he does a second commentary just for the first episode. So if you're wanting to find out why it's so bland, maybe he can
enlighten me.
Unless he thinks it's amazing. I don't know.
But the other reason I mentioned the direction as well is because there's a really strange bit where the Doctor hides the Master's tissue compressor.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so unclear what he's doing. He's sort of fiddling around the back of the Master's TARDIS for ages. And I thought he was trying to get in. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
He's like just fumbling around, but then it turns out he's just leaving the tissue compressor there. But why would he even do that? Even Tegan says to him, like, why are you giving that back to the Master for?
That's right. Yeah.
And does he give an answer? Because I can't remember if he does. But that again, it was the direction. Just I wondered what was going on for a start. And the writing, I just was thinking, well, why would the Doctor do that? It's just so that the Master's still got it, I suppose. But surely he's got a spare one in the TARDIS anyway.
Probably. Yeah.
But it was a strange moment in the story, I thought. I do love the fact that Master's TARDIS is that casket, though.
The Iron Maiden.
Now, I did like that. And I mean, it's a shame that the Iron Maiden looks so rubbish. Because it's flimsy. It's so flimsy.
The door doesn't shut properly or
alive. No, the door doesn't shut. No, it's terrible. Because that's a good moment, that the Doctor's forced to choose between putting the Master in it or Mate's son.
Yeah.
And so obviously he has to choose the Master. And there's that moment where the Doctor thinks, the Master's finally been killed because he's been shut in it. and he pulls the sort of face of, oh, God, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But then, you can almost hear the Master's cackle as the TARDIS takes off. And it's like, oh, he's foiled me again, sort of thing. Again, quite a nice moment, but just not really captured in terms of production or direction, I don't think. But I did like that moment. I was like, oh, that's cool. Master's TARDIS, like that.
Yeah, no, it was good actually. It was.
The fact that Master tricks them into making him be put in there, I thought that's a good little moment.
Yeah, I think it was just. But then again, like the fact that the door doesn't close on it properly and it's a bit flimsy, I think that's part of the charm, isn't it? From some of the old,
it just looks so. I can't get in, and the door's nearly falling open, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you. Overall, though, direction very bland. The outside scenes weren't too bad, like when they're jousting and stuff.
Well, I always love it when Doctor Who goes on location, especially if it's a castle. There's something I don't know, something about the classic series where they used to, especially in the Pertwee era, they often seem to be in castles or forts, or so. Yeah, it has a nice feel to it, I think.
Yes.
When they're on location. Yeah.
Let's rattle through some characters then.
Yeah.
What do we think to Michael Jackson, who played Jeffrey DeLacy?
Michael Jackson.
Michael J. Jackson, who played...
Oh, Michael J. Jackson.
Yeah. He played Jeffrey DeLacy. Do you remember him? I know we struggle with character names and stuff, but...
He's the one who got shot on the horse, isn't he? Or is he...
Yeah, so he's the guy that... I think... So Ranulph, who's the guy who owns the castle that the king's supposedly visiting. This other guy is his cousin.
That's it, yeah. He's the one... Yeah, he wasn't too bad, actually. There's a bit when, after he's shot and he's lying on the table dying... Mm-hmm. That's him, isn't it?
That's him. Yep.
Yeah, it says in the thing that you can see him laughing, but I think because of the production subtitles, I couldn't see it. But it said if you look, he's really struggling not to laugh as he's supposed to be dead or something. But no, I thought he was fairly decent, to be honest. Yeah. In fact, I think a lot of these, I'm going to use that word. I generally thought the supporting cast were decent. There are a couple that stand out, and I'll say them as we go through them. But
yeah, he wasn't too bad actually.
Yeah, he was all right.
Yeah. What about... I'm
going to put Hugh in that bracket. The son.
The son? Who fights the master.
At the start.
At the joust, yeah. What do you reckon to him?
Yeah, I'm going to put him in the same bracket as decent because he just, he wasn't, he was, not neither good or bad. He was decent. He just,
yeah.
Yeah, in terms of you didn't sit there and think, he was slightly over the top, but you don't sit there and sort of... cringe, if you know what I mean. I thought he was fairly good. Yeah, those two.
Yeah.
Their parts, yeah.
What about Isabella then? Isla Blair.
Isla Blair, see, that's a name I know. I'm sure is she like a hammer? I know that name. I'm sure I've seen her in other things.
Be.
And I kind of felt she was wasted, really, because I'm sure she's been in other stuff I've watched, and I believe she's a good actor, but she really didn't get a lot to do in this. Like you said, she's thrown in that cell. There's nothing wrong with her performance for me, but I just didn't think she really had as much to go with, really.
Yeah, she's had small parts in lots of things.
Yeah, I know she was in Blake 7. I do know that.
Mr. Caldicott's Cabbage War. But yeah, she was in
Indiana Jones. All right.
Dr. Terror's House of Horrors and Taste of the Blood of Dracula, those old ones.
I thought she might have been somewhere along those lines, yeah. But no, I liked her. She's just unforgettable because of the writing, but nothing to do with her performance.
Exactly, yeah. She was very quiet and didn't have much to do, so.
Yeah, not much to work with, yeah.
No. What about Ranulph then? The guy who owns the castle?
No, you see, I thought he was good. He's one of the members of the cast that I thought was really trying to inject something into it.
Yeah, what was his name? Frank Windsor.
Frank Windsor. Yeah, I felt kind of sorry for him. I thought he's trying to give a bit of oomph to the performance, and he just, I don't know, everyone around him just seems so flat. So he stood out to me as being, particularly better than the rest, if you like.
Yeah, he was actually okay. The only thing that I found difficult was him and also King John, played by Gerald Flood.
Yeah.
I just found their very forced, grand British accents to be a bit overwhelming at times.
Okay. Yeah.
They were okay, but it's...
I must admit, I really liked Gerald Flood as the king. he was over the top, I know, but I don't know. I just really liked his performance. And when he's singing the song... He really announces his work. At least he was trying. Do you know what I mean? At least he was giving a performance. He didn't, because a lot of the time it felt to me like this was a stage play that they were making up as they went along. It just really just felt that flat at times. But at least he gave a bit of something to it. So I quite liked him as King John, to be honest.
Yeah, no, he was okay actually.
Yeah, it was a bit hammy,
a little bit
in the performance, but I liked it. Yeah,
yeah. Apparently, Frank Windsor, Ranulph, he's in another story from Doctor Who.
Is he?
Yeah, but I don't know what else he's in.
Ah, okay.
But apparently so.
Where are you seeing that? I'm trying to think what else he would have been in.
Let me have a look. Oh, Ghostlight. He played Inspector Mackenzie.
Oh my goodness! Yes, it is.
Now you see
he's the police. Yeah.
Yep.
He's Inspector. That's I thought it's funny because I just thought he looked familiar, but I hadn't sort of placed him in another Doctor Who. But yes. There we go. Is he still alive or is he?
He's still with us. Yeah, he's 91. Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, 91. Blimey.
Yeah. But yes, I agree with you. The King John, Joel Flood. Pretty good actually. Just it's just those two, just their accents. I completely understand why they were doing that. It's very that's the thing you do, I suppose, when you get those roles. But what about Chameleon then? So the voice of Joel Flood did the voice of Chameleon as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very cool. Okay.
Didn't realise that, to be honest.
So a lot more soft spoken.
Yeah, I mean, kudos for giving to, because I didn't realise that was the same person doing it, actually. So I guess it's because it's so robotic, but yeah. It's weird because there's something very likeable, I think, about Chameleon.
There is.
I don't know if it's because he's so rubbish you love him. I don't know if it's that sort of underdog thing, but I think the voice really suits it. I'm quite surprised it was the same guy, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And then what about Anthony Ainley then? Good as always?
Actually, yes, actually, I really liked him in this. I think he kind of saved it for me, to be honest with you, because he doesn't do anything spectacular. He doesn't, but in fact, if anything, it's the opposite. He's almost slightly toned down in this one. And I think that's why I liked it. He just seems to be, he's got this sort of glee on his face the whole time of this sort of evil, he just seems to look, he looks like he's really enjoying it all the time, especially when he's having fights with Davison and putting him in his place and doing the laugh. And so I actually really liked him in this. As I said, nothing spectacular about his performance, but I don't know. If anything, he slightly underplayed his master. Sometimes he can be very OTT. I liked him in this myself. What did you think to him?
Yeah, I think he's kind of solid, isn't he? Anthony Ainley as the master. Yeah. You know what you're going to get with him. He's very, very sinister and but not OTT. And I think even more so, I agree with you. He is a little bit
if you think of him in like Legopolis when he's quite manic, like the bit where he's pressing the buttons and I'm going to rule the world. And he's, in this, he was slightly, as I said, well, his plan's so toned down. So maybe that's why, but do you know what I mean? He's not quite as manic as sometimes he can be.
Yeah. Although he does get sort of the last word, doesn't he, on Davison's Doctor with the whole die, Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Die.
You must die.
In the regeneration. But I think Anthony Ainley's, I think he's solid though. I think you know what you're going to get with him when you watch a story with him as the master. He's just really good, isn't he?
I like him. I mean, Delgado will always be my favourite, but of course. But I grew up with Anthony Ainley as the master. He was the first master that I saw, so I've always got a sort of bit of love really for his master. But I must admit, I was a little bit disappointed in his reveal. Because they just used a special effect with some very 80s music. Wow. And I was like, oh no, I wanted him to rip off the beard. It's me, just taking all the disguise off. But no, it's just an effect. And then he does the laugh, so.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted more in that reveal was, even if just the people in the room, like a bit of a gasp.
This comes back to what I say about Davison's performance in this. For me, it's the flattest performance I've seen him do. Even he's like, "Oh, it's you." There's no surprise or anything. I mean, is that down to the director or what? I don't know. I agree with you. We needed something. We needed a sort of from the crowd or something from the Doctor of. Because I thought maybe Davison realised it was him all along and was playing along. To foil his plan, because he drifts in, he's welcomed in very easily, and it's all going very smoothly for the Doctor. And I was thinking, he's probably like the Doctor knows what's going on, but then he's sort of when the reveal does come, he's like, oh, it's you. So he didn't know, but it's a real flat.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, because
there's no like gasp or
that's what I mean. Fainting. There's nobody they've just seen a person transform in front of their eyes.
Yeah, they're amazed about the TARDIS appearing, but they're not amazed that someone's,
literally shapeshifted in front of their eyes.
And also when Chameleon turned shapeshifts later on, they're like, oh, the Doctor told the truth. Oh, they're all amazed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's nothing when the Master does it. Nothing
literally
at all.
flat, isn't it? Everyone's straight-faced and it's,
It's not even a dropped spoon.
No, that would have been amazing.
Or it would have been great if the loop player had sort of hit a dumb note. Something. Yeah, but no, nothing.
Nothing at all. Shame. Yeah. What did you reckon to our companions then, Turlough and Tegan? So I think we've already established, I mean, Tegan, Jeanette Fielding, she looks thoroughly bored, as Davison does through most of it.
She's poor in this. I'm sorry. She's walking around the set of that jacket, the coat, just as if she's cold. And she really doesn't put anything into this story at all. Not all her fault. I mean, a lot of it's got to be down to the writing because she gets absolutely nothing to do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she just looks bored. I mean, Mark Strickson does try. I've got to give him, kudos for that, because when he's locked in the cell, he is shouting about. He's trying to give a bit of performance because again, he really ain't got a lot to work with. But yeah, Janet, I'm sorry, love you to bits, but you're absolutely giving nothing in this, really. She just looks. It's a bored day on set. You can tell.
Absolutely.
She's read that script. She's seen she's got nothing to do, and she thought, I'll just turn up, get paid, and it's like, yeah.
And I'm not sure if that was partly down to the direction, though. I'm not sure if Tony Virgo was like, look, you're not going to be very happy in this episode. You don't really want to be here, so I need you to come across like, just hurry the Doctor up and do what you need to do, and we're on our way. But maybe that combined with the fact that, as you said, Jeanette Fielding just literally looks like she just wants to be anywhere else but filming Doctor Who that day or those couple of days. Yeah. It's a shame, but I do agree with you though. Mark Strickson, he does try to give it a little bit of, because there's a few scenes when he's chained up in the cell bit, where he does lose his rag a couple of times, and he's really trying to get the point across that they're not demons and the Doctor's the good guy and all that sort of stuff. And when he gets captured a bit later on, it's the same thing. He does have a little bit of an outburst, and he does try to put something into it, but
yeah,
not his best performance, but he's certainly given it a go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's trying to do something. Yeah.
And then Davison as the Doctor is pretty much a similar vibe to Jeanette Fielding, really. He's just a bit...
Yeah.
He's a funny one, Davison, isn't he? Because you can tell that when he reads a script and there's a story that he actually likes and he's into it, he does try and... he's quite an understated Doctor anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But, some stories that you can tell that he likes, that he's on board with, then he gives it some oomph. But these, like this one, blimey, it's like...
I mean, I really like Davison's Doctor. I really do. I know a lot of people find him beige, don't they? They always say that because of his costume. Yeah, beige, the beige Doctor. I've always liked him, maybe because I grew up with him. But I've got to admit, this one, he really isn't giving much in terms of performance. I mean, you really can tell he's just not into the script. I mean, Black Orchid, he's on record as saying how much he, doesn't like that story. Mm-hmm. But he's still really good in it. With all the what's the costume called, the Harlequin stuff, and he still gives a bit of oomph to his performance. But this one is really talk about going through the motions.
Paint by numbers.
Him and Janet just look like they've turned up. You can almost imagine them before the cameras are rolling, just rolling their eyes and just like, here we go. Then come on, there's nothing. There really isn't, and there are moments where he could have put stuff in. I know it's not the best script, but the fight scene with the Master, the reveal, there are moments when he could have given more in terms of performance. But yeah, he looks thoroughly bored, and because of that, it makes the program more boring, I think.
Yeah,
and it's not very exciting as it is.
Exactly.
You need him to add something to it. As we've said many times, like Matt Smith, when he gets a poor script, at least you can count on him normally to add something to it. And you kind of needed Davison to do this with this two-parter, and he doesn't.
Yeah, he needs to carry it a bit, doesn't he? As the leading man, he needs to sort of carry it a little bit and try and get some energy going and stuff. But, I mean, if you think of performances like The Visitation, Black Orchid and Earthshock, The Five Doctors, even something like Mordrin Undead or Enlightenment, or Caves of Androzani. He's so good in those stories, whether he likes a script or he doesn't. But a couple of them that he really like, he's really, really good. And like you said, big fans of his Doctor. But it's almost like he's a bit of a grumpy child with some of the stories, it feels like, where if he really doesn't like the script, and he's on record as saying these things as well, we're not making this up, you know, if he doesn't like the script, you can just tell in his performance that he doesn't like it. He's just not giving it the 100% that Doctor Who maybe deserves. He's given it sort of 85% because he doesn't really like it.
And also, I think you summed it up perfectly earlier, mate, when you just said he needs to be the leading man. He really isn't leading the story at all. He's just there in the background, really.
Yeah,
he's not the leading man in this story.
Versus a Doctor like Matt Smith, who we've mentioned many times on this subject, where even when Matt Smith didn't particularly like the script or the story was a bit weak, he carrying some of those stories for sure.
Yeah.
He's still giving it 110 even in a lot of it. So slightly disappointed really in Davison's performance, because we both know and everyone knows that he can be a great Doctor in some stories.
Yeah.
You know, but
and I think this story, the nature of the story, he could have added a bit of charm to it. I think it's not a great script. I'll absolutely go, with that. Yeah. But there are moments where he could have added some, a bit of charm to it, and I just don't think he could be bothered. I think he's just looked at it and thought, "Oh, let's get this done." That's how it feels to me from his performance. Let's get this done. Then there's no sort of trying to make something of it, if you like.
Yeah, and as it's only a two-parter as well, that's probably even compounded it, because they're like, well, this is only 2 parts. We're only going to be on set for 2 days, a day on location. Let's just get this done and move on. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so Davison, in terms of the not bringing anything extra to the script, because this is quite a quiet, laid-back story with not much going on, and the script is a little bit bland. You would have thought that Davison would have actually had more fun with it, to do more stuff and bring a bit of charm, like you said, and some energy, and just really had, really pushed the director, because I imagine it would have been very paint by numbers, like action, say the scenes, cut, next one, nothing really going on. It would have been nice for the director to have said, like, Davison, you're a bit OTT on this, mate. Let's tone this down a bit, just for him to do some extra stuff to bring, a bit more of some energy to it. But
and it's funny because, as I said, there are nice elements to this story. Like with Black Orchid, that's a nice little 2-parter. Not the best story by any means, but it has so many nice bits in it in terms of performance, costume, locations and stuff. This could have been up there with it, I think, if they had done 2 things. One, if Peter and one, if the main cast were better in it, giving more, and 2, if the ending had been better, because those are the 2 things that really let it down for me. I can kind of forgive the the Master's, rubbish plan. I can kind of forgive that because it is just a 2-parter. It's not hard to sit through. Costumes, production, locations, all good. It just needed them from Peter, really, and it needed a stronger ending.
Yeah,
and that it still would never have been a classic. It never would have been up there as one of the greats, but I think it would have brought it up there, perhaps with sort of Black Orchid or Forward to Doomsday, but it doesn't. It sinks below it because, I mean, the ending in particular, for me, really lets it down. I still can't quite get over it, actually.
Yeah, and also at the time, back in the early 80s, the BBC gave this as a bit of a push as well, because this was the 600th Doctor Who episode.
Wow, didn't know that.
So this was episode 2 in terms of chronological broadcast numbers.
Yeah,
this was episode number 600, so a bit of a push on it, a bit of extra marketing oomph and stuff. And when people finished watching it, they must have been like, well, if the next 600 are like this, then...
And also, it's followed by the 5 Doctors, an absolute milestone in Doctor Who's history, and an absolute, one of my favourites. I adore the 5 Doctors. It could not be more polar. And, again, maybe that's the reason this suffers a little, because it's just there just to bridge the gap. It does feel filler, doesn't it? It really does feel filler, unfortunately. But yeah, it's amazing to think you go from this to the 5 Doctors. If anything, that's the one they should have been pushing. I'm sure they were, but
Yeah. And also there was kind of little murmurs around this being linked to Blackadder as well, isn't there?
It does that, yeah. It does have a bit of a vibe of that, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently this is the same set that they use for a lot of the Blackadder.
Oh, is it?
Stuff. And also the Iron Maiden style casket / Master's TARDIS.
Yeah.
That appears in Blackadder as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Which is cool. So at least they got some use out of the story.
I'm thinking now of, do you remember the end credits of Blackadder where the guy with the lute follows him up the track and then hits him on the head? I'm thinking of that now. But yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, mate, in terms of viewing figures, not too bad though. Just under 6 million for part 1 and then just over 7 million for part 2.
It went up.
So it went up so they must have been captivated by the at the end of part 1. They must have thought, the evil cackle's arrived.
Oh my gosh.
It's all going to kick off in part 2.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Wow. I don't know how they did it, but well.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So anything else you want to mention before we put a score on this?
No, I think we've covered it really.
Yeah, we've picked it apart enough, haven't we? Yep.
Yeah.
It's you to go first, buddy.
Yeah, it's me to go first. I'm kind of stuck, actually. I'm just kind of stuck between a 5 and a 6 because 5 seems a bit cruel. 6 seems a bit... Shall I go in the middle? 5.5?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Go with your heart, mate. What are you saying?
I'm going to go with a 6. I don't like 0.5s. It probably doesn't deserve a 6, but I'm going to go with a 6. I found it watchable. it just needed a better ending.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a 5.
A 5. A 5, okay.
Just because I was thoroughly bored. And I honestly think that Peter Davison and Jeanette Fielding could have made this a more enjoyable story to watch.
Yeah.
But they were thoroughly bored themselves. So as a result of that, I'm going to be bored.
I can't give it a 6. I agree with you. I can't. It's too high. I'll go 5.5. It's just 5 seems too low. 6 seems up. 5.5. Final answer, Jeremy.
Okie. Well, yeah, roughly a 5 then from us.
Yeah.
What did our listeners think? Our regular reviewer. So our reviewer from Down Under, Sammy, she's sort of carrying the team at the minute. There's no other audio clips coming in from you guys. What's going on?
Good for you, Sammy. Yeah, come on, guys, get your audios in.
So this is Sammy's thoughts on the King's Demons.
Okay.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, the King's Demons, remarkably short. Seems a lot of setup for such a short story. King John gets duplicated by a robot called Chameleon, who is now on Big Finish, according to the will of the Master. I'm not sure if it's good, bad, meh, or what, really. I'll give it 7 King's Demons out of 10, I guess. See ya.
Okay.
I'm glad because Sam is like us then. I was thinking yesterday, I was kind of fighting with my own thoughts, thinking, is it good? Is it bad? It's not. It's So I'm glad that you're the same, Sammy.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sammy.
Yeah.
Over on Twitter, Jordan Shortman says, I quite like this one. It's not great, but not as bad as some people think. I love the 5th Doctor anyway, and Tegan is my favourite companion, and Chameleon is quite a good character in concept, but fails in real life. But Anthony Ainley is fabulous as always.
Yeah, I do think he's good in it, yeah.
Yes. Let's have a look. This is a question, actually, from Craig Wiley.
Yeah.
Anyone know why the Castrovalva continuity is on the Season 18 Blu-ray and not on the Season 19 Blu-ray? Just curious.
Yes, it's because it is on the Season 19. Hang on, Castrovalva. I'm not sure. I know that there's a special feature on the Season 9, like the announcement bit.
That's right.
If that's where the audio goes out of sync. So rather than replace the discs, they've just put the bit on the Season 18 again.
Yes,
so you've got. So I don't know if he's referring to that, but it could just be because there was an error on the Season 19 disc, if that's the thing you're talking about.
Okay, moving on. Ian, ITM 1997 says, and this isn't a review, but says, because I'm an idiot, It took me 25 minutes to forget the Master on the front cover. And when he popped up, I was utterly shocked. He was here when I first watched it. Laughing emoji.
I see it. So the disguise did fool him.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
The Doctor Who geek says, I haven't watched in a while. What I remember, I really enjoyed it. Okay.
Alrighty.
Sarah Louise Baggett, the Running Whovian.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. She says, a first-time watch for me, and I really enjoyed it. I found this to be the perfect Doctor/Master story with a great historical setting and references. The chameleon concept worked well, and it's always interesting to see what form the Master's TARDIS will take. An 8 out of 10.
8. Wowza, Sarah.
Nice one. Glad you enjoyed it, though, Sarah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And Spencer says, first time watching, enjoyed it, but felt it was a little rushed and could have been a longer story that was more fleshed out. Legitimately surprised by the Master reveal, and I think I enjoyed part 2 even more because of him and his conspiring ways. It gives it 7 snake lapels out of 10.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Spencer. And over on Facebook, Callum Latimer Shepley says, the first part starts quite slow. Honestly, bored up until about 15 minutes in. Things do pick up a bit when the second part is really enjoyable. Probably Ainley's best performance. And a great introduction to Chameleon, a 6 out of 10.
Cool.
Charlie Turner says, definitely my favourite 2-parter of the classic series. It's a nice little historical. It's just too bad that the story that continues the events of this ever so slightly Planet of Fire is a bit naff anyway. The King's Demons gets a strong, good old-fashioned 9 out of 10.
My word, Charlie.
Charlie loving it.
He's loving it.
And lastly, Kevin Mullins says, once again, a very weak beige Davison story. The entire cast look thoroughly bored. The Master's plan is so small scale, it's hard to imagine it's the same man who only a year earlier almost destroyed the universe.
Yeah.
Chameleon is an utter waste of time. And just why does the Master go to the bother of disguising himself?
Well, there is that.
Yes. And Kevin gives it 4 jousting knights out of 10.
4. Okay.
Raises a good question there, seeing as the reaction to his change was 0 anyway.
Yeah.
The point of him, mind you, though,
he must have been so disappointed. Like, it's me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I honestly think that sometimes the early stuff featuring the Master, I think they do try and make him a bit sort of Bond villainy. Yeah. In my opinion, with the whole makeup and disguise and stuff. But anyways, I think maybe they think, should we actually put him in disguise? Does it benefit, does the story benefit? Like, nah, let's do it anyway. It's fun, isn't it? Let's put something.
It always cracks me up. Yeah. I mean, like when he's in Time Flight, like, why is he dressed as that thing? There's just no need. But I'm glad I wouldn't want it any other way.
Oh, crikey. There we go. So I think this is a mixed bag, I was expecting this one to be very flat. I was expecting all the scores to be 4s and 5s, but we got a 9 from Charlie. We got an 8 from Sarah. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad. I like it when it's a bit more mixed, I must admit, I expected to be thoroughly bored. And I wasn't, despite all its faults and flaws. Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, but that's how I thought I'd be. I was like, that's why I watched it quite late. I kind of put off right to the end of last night watching it because I thought, oh yeah, I've got to watch King Demons later. I'll just watch a bit more season 18 first, and then got to about 10 o'clock. I thought, right, 2-parter, let's get this done. And I bunged it on, and I expected to be on my phone quite a lot. Actually, I thought I'll just refresh my memory, and I did, I wouldn't say enjoyed it, but I did find myself watching it rather than getting bored. But yeah, still not great. I know you were thoroughly bored, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, I will admit. Yeah.
Right. Next week, we are back to Torchwood.
Torchwood next week, yeah.
Yeah, what have we got next week, bud?
I always hear the theme in my head as soon as we say it. So next week's episode is called They Keep Killing Suzie. Keep Killing Suzie. Don't remember that one. Keep Killing Suzie. Yeah. Wonder what that's about.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yes. Can't remember the last time I saw this one.
I was trying to think
a bit as well.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of the next time trailer. We would have seen it at the end of whatever the last one was, but can't remember the trailer even. I'm actually Googling it to see if the pictures bring anything back. Oh, yeah. Gauntlet. Oh, is it when they bring that woman back to life? It was in episode 1.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right. So next week then, Torchwood, they keep killing Suzie. Get the your DVDs or Blu-ray out for that one, because we'll be asking for your thoughts. And you guys need to step up with the audio clips.
Come on. Save our vocal cords.
Let's save them, yeah. So all you need to do is get your phone out, or any other, if you're a podcaster yourself and you have a microphone and all that jazz, or a computer, whatever it might be, just record an audio clip, an audio review for us. It can be up to a minute long. Just give us your thoughts and we play them all out to give Sammy a break. Indeed. So I think we're going to wrap there, bud, for 224.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much, guys, for listening to episode 224 and sticking with us. It's great to have you all on board listening to the show. New listeners waving, old grizzled ancients waving as well. Lovely to have you. Next week, Torchwood, They Keep Killing Suzie. We'll be reviewing that one, so we'll be asking for your thoughts. Social post goes out every Monday, so look out for that. In the meantime, head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows on there. Plus, you can link off to all the various podcast networks, so you can give us a subscribe so you don't miss a show when they land on a Friday morning. There's also a big button there to go off to iTunes. That's our sort of main network, I suppose. And if you are an iTunes listener, if you could spare a minute for a review and a rating, that would be amazing, because that helps us lots. There's also buttons there to link off to the various social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you don't follow us on there, give us a like. We chat Doctor Who during the week, so join the community over there. Also, check out my co-host's YouTube channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, The Geek's Handbag. Got some new vids up now.
Yes, you still have time to enter Adam's competition to win the Doctor Who crystal ornament.
Yeah, Crystal TARDIS.
Very, very nice. So there's still time to go and enter that one.
That's right.
Loads of other cool videos on Adam's channel as well. Go and give him a subscribe. You won't be disappointed. Lots of cool stuff there. And you're also on the social networks under the same name, The Geek's Handbag.
I am indeed, yes.
Yes. So until next time for 225, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...